Hello, good evening, welcome to Easy 8 Online Painting Club, the live stream show where for the next 2 hours you get to join me painting some of your models and putting some paint on your grey pile of shame. I apologise for being a little bit late. I was just reconstructing my my airbrush because last night I took it all apart. I needed a really good deep clean and I didn't put it back together again. It was just covering my entire desk and it needed putting together. There was lots of tiny pieces. It's all done. I've cleaned it. Yeah. I don't normally do that, so well done me. Anyway, if you are new here, Easy 8 isn't a tutorial channel or anything like that. There's that sort of stuff out there in abundance out on the internet, and you can go and have a look at that. You should do, because there's some great people, and I'm just generally not that good. This is a place where you can come along, make some friends in the live chat over here, although it's very empty today. I am expecting an empty show, but that's okay. That's fine. You can watch it back on the replay, and if you want, you can either join in with anybody who turns up over here, or you can pop some comments down there if you want to, especially if you're watching it back later on the replay, like quite a few people do, clearly, hopefully. Anyway, if you like what Easy 8 is all about, sorry, I've got like a little list of things to read through just over here on the side, and I wasn't reading it very well. If you like what Easy 8 is all about, if you like what we do, then please do consider subscribing to the show. It's such a small gesture from you, but it means the world to me. And honestly, every subscription is honestly a precious thing. So please do subscribe. If you haven't already, if there's someone out there who you think would really benefit from the show or just be interested in the show, then go out there and share it. Word of mouth gets us out in the world. And hopefully they will subscribe too. Even if you don't like it, subscribe, because it means a lot to me. Please? We got Kez has joined us. Hi all, working on my city scenery, so we'll not be talking much. That is absolutely fine. You don't have to talk at all if you don't want to. It's interesting that you're there watching, because it does say no viewers in the corner, so that's inaccurate. I have noticed that today on my replay I've got quite a lot of lag. I'm wondering if something's happening in the background of my computer. I have stopped it from doing all those sorts of things. But if the show gets a bit laggy or the quality drops, do let me know. Put it over there in the comment section, sorry, down there in the comment section or over there in the live chat, and let me know, because I might be able to do something about it. But it seems to be okay in dribs and drabs. Anyway, yeah, please do subscribe. Why not hit the thumbs up button as well, because that means the world also. Finally, if you're working on something this evening, please do let me know about it. I'm genuinely interested in what it is that you're working on. I love to be inspired and motivated by the projects that you guys are taking on. And that's what this is all about, right? It's a little club where you can come together and share the stuff that we're doing. Maybe you've got something to celebrate. Maybe you've got some problems and you want to kind of talk it out with some people. That's what this show is all about. I just had my dinner and my mouth is still watering, so I'm just trying to catch up with my day. Anyway, last couple of weeks I've been working on my 200 gargoyles just here with a tissue stuff between them. Yeah, got to clean the brushes. And it's been a really stressful week for me at work, like really stressful. There was so much that I wanted to get done, and I just had to give myself some personal me time and just switch off. I fell asleep on the sofa during the middle of the day on a couple of days off, which is very unlike me. So yeah, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. I did get some stuff done on them. I've been doing some other projects, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Very exciting. So this week, I'm going to be painting some wings on here. I've still got a little bit of highlighting to do on their carapaces, but you know, I jumped from wings to go to carapaces to mix it up a little bit, because I don't like doing the same stuff every week. Even though it is a painting club designed to get stuff done, but it's not very fun for you to watch. So today I'm going to go back over to wings, and then hopefully I'll be able to catch up on a little bit of highlighting stuff a little bit later on. So that's what I'm going to do. Keza says, me and my brother Ben watching at mine. Hi Ben, thanks for coming along. If you've got your phone out or something like that, go and subscribe to the channel. It would make my day if you were to do that. We've also gone up by a few subscribers. We're up to 116 now. No doubt that is due to meeting the guys at 3D Gizmo a couple of weeks ago at the North Devon Model Show. Fabulous bunch of people, a little family set up, just running a Facebook group, where people just come along and kind of do what we do with painting, but with 3D printing, and some fabulous stuff out there as well. Hi guys, hope you're all well. Yeah, let's go over to the workbench now that we've timed it perfectly on that music. I like it when it does that. Anyway, here we go to the workbench. I like it when I say something, it's like a dramatic pause, and the music stops, and then like there's a screen change. It's all kind of cool. Anyway, here's my cup of tea. Happy Friday. Cheers. Made by the girlfriend. Thanks, Katie. Right. I cleaned my water. People keep telling me to clean my palette. It's not going to happen. Get over it. Chuck a bit of rubbish in the bin. Right, here we go. So I've been working on their carapaces. Let me pick a good one to show you. Any old one, really. So as you can see, maybe I should bring a little bit of light on the subject. Here we go. Bring a bit of light down here as well. That's a bit better, isn't it? Let's zoom in a little bit, shall we? Here we go. So as you can see, dark grey carapace with some highlights on the edges. The idea is to obviously, I say it every week, but just in case someone new is watching, you know, trying to simulate shadow and depth and just kind of give it some character and pop. So this one is done in terms of the 2 shades of grey, but there's a 3rd shade of grey to go on. There's a highlight grey, and it will pretty much do exactly what the other ones are doing, and it will just, but less, right on the edges of all those things. And I'll do what we've been calling on the show the split toenail effect, which is just gross, isn't it? And just kind of put some like scoring lines in there, just to make it look like, well, the carapace is split, you know, because it looks cool and animally, I suppose. He's got it on his back, he's got it on his head, he's got it on his gun, and that's it. So it's been quite easy to plough through this because it is the carapace bit that takes me a long time on these models. So yeah, as you can see here, the wings look very, very plain. Nice colour, that's just a simple standard flesh colour. But this is my test one that I did a little while ago, where I stained it. And I've also done like a little bit of crimson around some like the bullet holes, I suppose the tears, if you like. So what I've got to do is get that brownish colour back in. I was concerned when I was doing it that the brown sort of blends away too much with the yellow. Like the yellow skin on the fingers here doesn't look as good or stand out as well. But actually, I think it does all right, doesn't it? Hopefully, I'll get better at the staining as I go. Both sides, of course, underside and top side. Not so worried about the underside. So if the underside looks a little careless in some ways, that's fine, because most of the time they're going to be like this, right? So test one can go over there. There you go, test one. And I've got this one now. I'm actually going to put him away because I like to start at a certain order. Basically, I've got like a big polystyrene porcupine. If I zoom out again, here you go. Like I've got a big block of polystyrene all just stuck in it. And I like to work my way around in an order. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'll take this one here. So I've still got this one's head to do. I don't know why I left his head. I just don't know why I did it. And then this one here needs to be done in its entirety when it comes to the mid-grey tones. I was just having a bit of a breakdown day, I think. I was really struggling. It's really struggling this week. Anyway, let's get back to here. Oh, do you know what? It's warm in the studio, but it's raining outside. I might need to open a window in a bit. Maybe I'll do that in the intermission. Because one thing that I don't do on the show is get up from the chair. That has never happened in 3 years of streaming. It's just what I do, man. Anyway, let's choose a good brush. This is my size 1. Don't think I'll need that. I think I'm going to use my size 2. It's a good brush. It's got the best quality head out of all my brushes, this one. But it's just big, so sometimes it's not appropriate for some jobs. Anyway, let's get onto some Seraphim Sepia. Very little sepia left in this pot in here. You can see it, but it's okay because I got me a brand new one. I don't know how they're going to compare. You can see that there's a slight difference between these two in terms of their hue underneath. It might just be that it needs a really good shake, but I do know that this is the newer recipe, this is the older recipe, and I know that the colours have changed ever so slightly, and the way the properties, you know, that the different stains have. You can see that there's still a difference in the colour, but we'll see. I don't really mind. Just keen to use this one up. What I might do is get an old pipette and just drop it in the palette. There we go. I'll pop it in here. It won't take me very long to get through all of that, even though it looks like there's quite a lot in the palette there. There we go. That's one used. Cheers then. In the bin, that's gone. Hey, celebrating. I'm wondering if this is going to be too much of a big brush. It looks like it might be, right? Do you know what? Don't risk it. Go back to the number 1. This is my life in a nutshell. This is decision paralysis. Which one? Which one? I'll use that one. No, I'll use that one. Before you know it, the night's over and you've not chosen anything on Netflix. I'm going to use a wet brush. Something that I was finding was helping me. It might just be like, you know, an unnecessary ritual to go through. But something that I was finding was helping me on the first one was wetting the area down. It's also helping me kind of clean it down because there's a bit of a hair on that one. So all I do there is I just put just a drop of water on the areas that I'm going to do, and it just helps the stain sort of just like, you react better, more comfy, if you like. I like to have a damp brush, even when I'm using washes, just because it helps the paint transfer and flow better. Gonna get me a cork. It's a little bit easier to hold. This isn't the cork I normally use. Oh, I'm in a bit of a tiz today, aren't I? I'm all over the place. Where's my normal cork? There he is. Just a bit easier to hold there. Wonderful. Here we go. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a really nice week, even though I've had a stressful one. Let me know what you've been doing. What is it you're up to? Lister Kane. There he is. That's the brother right there. Look forward to painting my nids once I've primed them. Excellent. If you want to take photos of your stuff, you can always go and pop them up on Facebook, because we're not just here on YouTube, of course. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. Facebook is usually quite active. Has been recently. So come along and drop some photos on there if you want to. You can always put them on Discord at the Easy 8 After Party, where I am usually on at the end of every show. You can come along and chat to me in a live video if you want to, or you can just tippy type. Or you can just use the little channels there to put photos up and stuff if you want to. Why not, eh? Now, as I'm putting this on, I'm just trying to move it around. Though I like the patterns that washes sometimes give when they sit and pool, I don't really want patterns. So just trying to, you know, gently move it around and avoid pooling. I want it to run up against the edges of things so that I can clearly. It basically just kind of like highlights things as it identifies things by running up against them. So where it's run up against the side of the limbs on his fingers there, look, it's made a very good job of identifying what it is. It's like outlining, isn't it? It can be quite tempting to go in quite heavy with the washes, but obviously it'll darken it right up. So what I want to do is go in quite light, and it will dry faster, obviously, which means that if I want to, I can come in with a second coat. Right now, I'm just trying to push this wash up into those recesses underneath his carapace in there, making sure that I get good coverage all the way. It's one side done. Nice and quick, that, innit? Right, to the other side. Again, a little bit of moisture. My brush, not too much. There's a little bit of colour in this as well, so I've got to be careful where I go with it, but I just want to water down the edges here. Having wet bristles, just with water, and having a slightly wet surface just allows me to help control, oh excuse me, hiccups, just helps me control the flow of paint, and if I need to kind of reposition things like I was saying a minute ago. All these little things, I think they all kind of add up and they go a long way. Here we go. Make sure that I'm actually in shot properly. There we go. Now this side's looking a little paler than the other side, so I think it needs just a little bit more in the brush. Just dab that on, let it run around a little bit, and then when I've been dabbing it you can see little pools building up. I'm just going to move those pools around and then I can affect the saturation. Let that do its thing over there. So, like I said earlier on, was expecting it to be another quiet evening. That's fine. Do you know, it's the summer holidays anyway. People aren't really at home. They're out and about, seeing friends and family, going to different places. The last thing you want to do is get yourself in on a Friday night and chill out watching this boring, poor painter paint boring things. I get it. It's okay. Go live your life. Be free. But I also know that there are events on today that some people are off to go and participate in. And that's why we won't see any of the regular faces, many of the regular faces that are usually on with us. Apart from Kez. Kez has joined us. Thanks for joining us. That's looking pretty good, isn't it? Now what I'm really keen to avoid is any bits that I've missed, because they'll show up as really pale areas, and then I'll have to go back in and affect them, and then it can be quite hard to blend it back in. But that's the top sides of his wings done. That's really cool. When I say done, I do mean done with this colour. I might want to come and do a second pass, which is fine. Like I said a minute ago, I'm not going to be so precious about it underneath. So underneath, I'm just looking to get some colour on there. Nice. And just a little bit on the elbow, the inside of the elbow bend, just there. Now, because I've just done the undersides, what could have happened is little blobbing bits coming up on the outside edges over here, and I really don't want that at all, so I do make sure that I look out for that. Looks okay though. Got a bit of running going down the little stalk there. Right, onto the other side. This is where it becomes a little bit tricky. Holding it in all sorts of weird little poses and positions. Just trying to get that colour in some of the harder to reach areas. Ooh, tricksy. Bit of pooling there. This is really quite a tricky little job, this little bit here. Having to hold my paintbrush right at the end. So one of the reasons it doesn't matter so much that if I get this sepia tone on the yellow is because when I painted them yellow, I stained them all with sepia. It's a really nice colour. So what we're getting really is a unifying effect. One unifying transparent colour that goes over essentially everything, blends everything together and makes everything uniform and match. Even when you have stark contrasting or clashing colours, a unifying wash or a unifying dry brush can be, you know, a means to success in pulling it all together. So that's why when I'm going over some of the yellow, the sepia doesn't seem to be really having much of a ruinous effect. However, that is almost definitely the reason why the yellow in my mind is not standing out, or, you know, is kind of blending away with the membrane colour. Cool. So that's that one done. Now if I compare him to the test piece, you'll see that he is much paler than this one. I think... Oh, do you know what? I don't know which one is better. I genuinely don't. Which one do you guys think is better? Do you like darker or paler? Because it's going to take a second coat of sepia to get in there. Now, by the time I finish the other 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this one will be dry. You can see that it's mostly dry now. So it'll be an easy thing to do. What do you think? Darker or paler? Darker or paler? Let the community decide. That's one thing I do like about this show, is that if I'm struggling with decision paralysis, I can just ask you guys and you decide for me, and then I'm happy. Go, another sip of my tea. I haven't had a cup of tea all day. I do get caffeine withdrawal, so it's nice to have it. Yum, yum, yum. Right. Even if you're using washes, regularly wash your brush out, because washes will still gum up your ferrule and your bristles, just like any paint will, and because they're runnier, they will do it even worse. This one's got some nice big bits of damage in his wings that pow, pow. Pow is the name of the noise when it gets shot. It's been a tough week, let me go. Kes says, paler I think is better, the model stands out more. Okay, cool. If the dark one stands out in amongst all the pale ones, I could just go back and repaint it, it doesn't take very long. So you think pale, what do you think, Ben? Do you prefer the pale one as well? This one's missing a claw on the end of his wing. David Harris. Hi. Hello, David Harris. Thank you very much for joining us. I do believe David Harris is the ringleader for 3D Gizmo. Am I correct? Is that correct? There is a little bit of a delay between me streaming broadcast and you guys replying. So if I ask questions, it's never an immediate thing. It's part of the fun of it, really. It's like a satellite phone call. Do you remember satellite phone calls when you're a kid watching the old Saturday morning TV shows? They're always talking over each other. I am! Hello, David. Thank you so much for coming along. How are you doing? Thank you for being a part of the show. Like I was saying to the guys just a few minutes ago, it is a much quieter show today. There is some sort of a festival going on. I am aware of it, and a lot of our regular viewers have gone to it. And there's just some other things going on today. So while it is now 3 of you in the live chat, it is for a very good reason. That does sound like me trying to validate why it's a quiet show. Sometimes it is. I have done a show where for most of it was just me, and then someone came in and saved the day. It was a beautiful moment between two people. It happens. Anyway, I hope you're doing really well, and it was great to talk to you at the North Devon Model Show. And as you've seen, I'm a part of the 3D Gizmo Facebook group. There's just some wonderful content out on there. So well done to you and the guys who are always producing that stuff. It looks fantastic. I believe Kez in the chat here is one of the people that you met that weekend with me. We're both members of the group now. And I've already seen some fantastic and inspiring stuff out there. It's just great. Definitely the paler one is best, says Ben. Okay, cool. That's kind of confirmed it then, isn't it? Paler one it shall be. Glad I can add to the numbers. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'm really glad to have you along. So as this year goes on, there's a lot of exciting things that are happening with Easy 8 and some collaborations along the way. And yeah, really looking forward to some projects that are coming up. This will be my last 40k project for a little bit. I've been focusing on 40k this year because I'm 41. It's my 41st revolution around the sun, and it's the 41st millennium in Warhammer 40,000, isn't it? So it just seemed like a nice number. So I believe Kez, Ben and I are off to Warhammer World for my first ever visit to Warhammer World in October. We've got a date set now. If anybody else wants to come and join us, it is the weekend, I believe. Is it the 8th to the 10th? We're only going away for a couple of days. I'm just going to go up, probably find a travel lodge or something like that. Maybe have a couple of beers or something, and then go to Warhammer World, have a look at the museum and play a game. Maybe stay another night, travel home the next day on the train. So, yeah, if you want to come along with us, please do. Let me know. I haven't made any sort of transport or accommodation arrangements yet. I will be doing it next week for myself and a few that are interested in going. That if I make those arrangements, it doesn't stop anyone else from tagging along. You are welcome to come along and be a part of that crew that go up, or we just meet you there. You know, it's always great to meet new people. Always. And you know, Warhammer, specifically Warhammer 40,000, but all of the Warhammer stuff really, has been such an instrumental part of my life growing up. It's about damn time that I went to Warhammer World. So I'm going to go on the pilgrimage. Thank you for the shout out. Absolutely no worries. You're going to get lots of them from here on in because, like what we were discussing at the North Devon Model Show, when you've got a platform, you should use it for good, right? So there's, you know, I don't do sponsorships and things like that. It's not at my level of 116 subscribers. I am grateful and worship every single one of my subscribers, but you know, until I get to thousands, if that ever happens, I don't think I'll ever look at like sponsors and things like that. There's no point. It's a hobby, and it should be free exchange of knowledge, right? Darren's joined us. Hi, Darren. I didn't expect to see you this evening. I thought you might have been going to Michelin. How are you, mate? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming along. Are you working on any projects? Are you painting anything? Are you building anything? Are you drinking anything? Because it's a Friday night. When I said Darren, I thought it said Darren, but it says Dave. And Dave's gone very quiet, going, "Who are you talking to?" I do apologise. I glanced at the screen. Maybe the reason Darren isn't here is because maybe he's at Michelin, where I thought he might have been. Hello, Dave. How are you? Are you painting anything this evening? Are you making anything this evening? Or are you having a drink? Because it's a Friday. That's what we do on Friday, isn't it? I'm just drinking tea, mate. Cheers. Someone said to me a little while ago, "What cup is it that you're drinking out of?" I'm drinking out of Robo Cup. I'm a big 80s sci-fi fan, so yeah. That was from the sister many years ago. Perfect condition mug. Predator, Terminator, Robocop, Aliens. They're just films of an ilk that you don't get anymore. Am I right? I'm right. So sorry for confusing you, Dave. Very embarrassing, but at least it was only caught on live stream for the whole world to see and replay. You know. This one looks like it's gone even paler than the last one. That's a very pale membrane over there, isn't it? That's better. Got a bit of a pool building up down here, so I'm just going to go in with a slightly dry brush and just use those dry brush bristles to just take advantage of capillary behaviour. Just soak it all up. There we go. Yeah, starting to get a little bit of pooling here. I've probably gone a little bit heavy on some of these. You can see where I'm trying to move it around now, kind of like torn the congealing layer, and it's made like a little clean patch with a ring around it, and that is not what I want. That's going to slow progress down today. I'll try and fill that in. Probably ruined that a little bit, but okay, never mind. To the other side, underside. David says, I'm cooking tea and thinking what colours to do dragon's teeth. So Kez and Dave have been collaborating recently for making or printing some 3D for some 15mm dragon's teeth for our little war games that we play. We play What a Tanker in 15mm, obviously. It's hilarious. And we've recently had Jeff come and join us, who's normally in the live chat, but is definitely at Michelin this weekend, so won't be joining us. Jeff's been joining us lately for What a Tanker games, and it's been hilarious. But Dave and Kez have been, making and basing and painting dragon's teeth. How many? 190, I believe it was, wasn't it, that have all now been based. So, got some nice area denial and passage denial. I keep wandering around the screen a little bit, don't I? I'm going to try and stay here. The ADHD is kicking in today. Dave says, sat with the missus and she's painting her next to Grogu, Mike Myers, in the time for Halloween. I am loving RoboCop. Yeah, man. RoboCop's so cool. RoboCop is cooler. Mike Myers and Michael Myers. Here's an interesting fact. Interesting fact for the day. This Danny was born on Halloween. Hello. I used to be a werewolf, but I'm alright now. These puns come at you free on this Easy 8 evening. Born on Halloween at 13 minutes to midnight, no less. There was a rumour, and I've never been able to have it corroborated or, whatever. But before I was born on Halloween, I was supposed to be a November the 1st boy. My name was going to be Damien. But when I was born on Halloween, I think that was a quick redacted name. Find another name that begins with D. I don't think that's the truth, though. It would be awesome if it was. And hello, Kirsty. Is it Kirsty? It is Kirsty, isn't it? Dave's missus. Hello. How are you? I hope you're well. Also, should probably have asked before I used your name live on stream, but I apologise for that. I will refrain from doing it unless you give me permission in the future. I'm so sorry. I try to be professional. Try to be. Right, wash that off. I've been streaming now for over half an hour and I've got 2 sets of wings done. I need to pull my finger out. You guys are all being distracting, that's what it is. Right, on to the next one. Oh, I'm thirsty. It's just my first cup of tea all day. And I do get caffeine withdrawal if I don't, so that's really sad, isn't it? It's really sad. Like, I get like really bad headaches if I don't drink caffeine. I've got to have like at least 1 cup a day. It used to be worse. It used to be like I have to have several cups a day. But I got home from work and I was like, God, I feel a bit rubbish. Still stressed, perhaps. I've had a very, very stressful week. But the day's been easy. I was like, oh, what's going on? I suddenly realised I haven't had a cup of tea. So yeah, sad. But the British Empire wasn't made around not having cups of tea. And if you think I'm going to do the show without one, you're very much mistaken. Movie pop culture for you. Name that film. Yes, it is Kirsty. You are welcome to username. Oh, hi. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. Ben has said, we'll be putting together Leviathan, Boxneys, Gargoyles and Turvagon sets tomorrow. So far, I've completed a Parasite of Mortrex, 2 Broodlords, Hormagaunts and Gene Stealers. They all just need priming. That is a lot of stuff, isn't it? Chloe Harris. Hello, Chloe. Hello. I also noticed that just earlier on today that you joined the Facebook group. Thank you so much for coming along. Welcome to the show. It is quieter than normal. Got a little family thing going on today with me. That's great. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I look forward to seeing your names popping up in future shows. What are you working on this evening, Chloe? Are you painting anything this evening? Are you making anything? Or are you just coming along for the chit-chat? Because I'm a great conversationalist. I'm a rubbish conversationalist. And I know I am. That's a lot of nids that you're getting in that box, by the way, Ben. 2 Broodlords, really? Like, isn't one appropriate? I've got one. It was when I did that Broodlord, it was when I realised that I can paint better than I always have done, and was one of the steps onto me doing the show, making the show. So it was a few years ago, and I was like, let's see, I can paint better if I put my head in the right space, take my time, and come up with some cool ideas and work out how to make them happen. That's the thing as well. Like, I get cool ideas and I want to be able to put them down on the canvas, so to speak, and it's kind of lost in the translation, in the transferring of the idea up here to then putting it on the thing is always the difficult, and just having the gall to go for it. What's the worst that can happen, right? Is how you learn. Chloe says, chilling out after having an interview, looking at working on some of my D&D minis. Oh, they would be very cool. I'd love to see some pictures of those. Feel free to put pictures of any of your projects that you're working on the Facebook page. Links to all of our platforms below in the description of this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe and thumbs up. I used to hate plugging the show with a subscribe and thumbs up, but now I love it. It makes me feel like I'm a professional YouTuber. I am not a professional YouTuber. Dave says, paints have arrived today, which I ordered. Yep, 190 dragon's teeth glued on last night. Did you go boss-eyed like in Austin Powers? Oh, I've gone boss-eyed. 190. That would have done you a nasty, mate. That would have. That's a bit too much paint in the brush there. So, Chloe, as I didn't really get to speak to you very much when we were at the North Devon show, you looked like you were very busy engaged with other customers while I was talking to Dave. And you did mention that you play D&D, but what do you play? Do you run the game? Are you a dungeon master or are you a player? I'm a player currently for D&D. I play it at work with some of my colleagues and my boss. And I currently play a girl. I play a lady called Greta. She's not an environmentalist or activist. She is a French accented healer. I'm a cleric. I'm the group's healer. Yeah, so that's fun. I've never played a healer before. And in my ignorance, I've never played a different gender before. So that's been interesting, exploring my female aspects. It's been an interesting journey. Turns out the group need me. That's always good knowledge. Previously, that I've played rogues. Tieflings are my favourites. I think tieflings are great. We've got a really cool druid that's in our game as well, who can't turn into an owlbear like it does in the movies, but can turn into lots of other really cool things. Just a normal bear is one thing that she can turn into, and a spider, which has proven to be very useful. We've got a half-orc barbarian who doesn't like locked things, so if you come across like a locked room, our rogue, who is an artist at picking locks, is no longer needed because the barbarian half-orc just smashes his way through. So yeah, that was an interesting development. But it's actually also been quite detrimental to the group's affairs as well, because not only does he not like locked rooms, but he doesn't like locked boxes, and every time we find a magical locked box with a magical item that our mage can use, it gets destroyed by the fact that our half-orc is sat on it with a warhammer. So yeah, that's been fun recently. And we play with miniatures, like on a map. They're my boss's miniatures, and I haven't painted any of them because I've got so many projects on the go at the moment. But I have been asked to do a few of them, and it would be nice to do like a little D&D thing, but that'll have to be a little bit in the future, I think. Not too far, I hope. It's always nice to mix it up a little bit. I like to really focus on my Warhammer 40,000 because, like I said a minute ago, it's always been a part of my life, and it always will be, so it's kind of nice to do a lot of it. I've got a lot of stuff for it as well. But I also like World War II, and to save on space, because you need the terrain for all of it, I play 15mm with a few of the guys in the live chat now, and it just saves on space. So we play What a Tanker, which I can give you the rules for if you want to have a little look at it. It's hilarious. Or, do you know what? Sometime in the future, because I know that you're in an easy location for me to get to, we can meet up and we can have like a little competition. In fact, I believe last week I issued 3D Gizmo a challenge. I will reissue that challenge a little bit later on in the show. So yeah, World War II and Warhammer 40,000 are my two things that I spend a lot of time doing. I've got some 135th builds as well, which I tend to not do on the show. I like to have those as private things, also because it's embarrassing how much I haven't done on them. But yeah, I do like them. I'm really into the history of it. I was never really into history until I started painting models in that scale, because I had to go and learn what the things were that I was painting to know how to paint them. And yeah, I had to go and learn about this is what I said last week, wasn't it? Metal road wheels. Ask me anything about tank wheels. Crazy. But yeah, I had to go and learn all these things, and I found that crossover really fascinating, which of course young Danny would have called me a boring old nerd for, but I'm old now, so I can do what I want. So yeah, there you go. Dave says, no, but I did super glue my fingers together. Yes. Sandpaper is your best friend there, mate. I've done it again on that winglet. That's a blob. Look how clean that bit looks now, look. What a wally. How frustrating. Chloe says, I'm a dungeon master at the moment, running a couple of different games. Ooh, it's a lot of pressure to be running 2 games. I'm a games master for a fantasy game of the old fantasy world of Warhammer. There's a roleplay game for everything, isn't there? And we're in a break at the moment because we just kind of finished one sort of campaign of it. One of our girls has been heavily pregnant. Actually, just gave birth the other day. Congratulations, Lulu. So yeah, we're taking a little break from it while I write the next chapter. But yeah, I do run those games, and with this show and work being very demanding, I find it very pressuring. So well done you for running 2 games. Dave says, waiting for 2 new tanks to arrive. IS-2 Russian tanks. IS-2 or IS-2 Russian tanks? I've got to buy myself a Pershing because I'm fed up with being King Tigered. Although we did very well in the Fireflies the other day, didn't we? 4 shells fired, 3 tanks killed. Game to the Allies. Ooh, brilliant. What a day. And then, of course, we got our asses handed to us in the second game. But we won't talk about that because it's nice to celebrate, isn't it? And I was going to say the people who played the Germans aren't present, but Kez is one of them. Yeah. Got stuck behind the hotel looting in a shop. Well, you presume looting. I was just parked out at the backside of the street. So you didn't get to do much, did you? Dave saying, brilliant game. It was hilarious. So What a Tanker is a wonderful game that doesn't require an awful lot. You only need 15mm tanks. You could play with whatever scale you wanted to if you wanted. But basically, it's designed to be brief, though they can take a while. We've certainly had some games go on for a bit. The idea being that you can play a smaller quantity of tanks, and it is just tanks, it's just vehicles, there's no troops or anything like that in it. And the concept is that the system has been designed so that it's supposed to represent the chaos that occurs in an actual theatre of combat. So in World War II, they didn't really have radios for keeping in contact with each other. I know the Germans did. The Allies did to a degree, but they weren't very good, and communication was poor. So communication is difficult. Lots of things are happening. Older tanks aren't as good as modern tanks, obviously. So you can't drive and shoot or maintain aim. And it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. The idea is that when you activate a tank in a set initiative order, you get to roll 6 dice, and they're your command dice. Each score means that you can do a particular thing. For example, if you roll a 1, it's move, and it allows you to move 2d6 inches of movement, or 1 in reverse. If you roll a 4, it means you can shoot, but you can only shoot if you've previously scored a 5 and loaded your tank with a round. So you can have everything. You can have the shot all lined up, enemy tank right in front of you, and your loader picking his nose or drinking his tea, not really doing anything, and you can't take the shot. And aiming is another thing. You've got to have your gunner aiming at them, but you can't aim at something unless the tank commander's acquired it. There's a lot to think about, and you've got to have them all. You've got to have it all lined up. But as soon as you move, or your opponent moves, the one that you've had aimed, you lose your aim. So you've got to re-establish that as well. So it becomes a very, very dynamic game of cat and mouse, whilst there's lots of shouting and cussing and oh, it's just brilliant fun. But for some reason, it just all came together the other day. We had Dave here, who was using his what is the tank? We call it the 152, but is it an IS 152? It's a very big caliber cannon on a very big, slow, cumbersome tank. And when it hits, it's devastating, but it becomes a bit of a shell magnet. And of course, me and Jeff, we both took Sherman Fireflies, which are also slow, because they had a 17-pound anti-aircraft cannon mounted sideways into the turret, because it was the only thing that we really had to take on German armour. So yeah, they're really slow. Their poor little engines in the Shermans couldn't handle it. So yeah, they're really slow, but it doesn't matter when you stick 17 pounds of shell up its butt. They called it the Firefly because when they fired a shell, the amount of flash that would come out of the muzzle of the cannon temporarily blinded the crew. So yeah, that's why they called it a Firefly. Not because it set things on fire and it made their bums glow, which is another way you could interpret that, I suppose. The ISU 152 or 152. It's a hell of a tank. It's a hell of a tank. It was the first time you really got to properly use it as well, wasn't it? Because in the previous week, when you first brought the tank out, it got shot to death in the first round before you even really got to do anything with it. Which, to be fair, is good target acquisition on the enemy's part, really. This week we had 2 tigers and a king tiger, and that was probably some of the heaviest armor we've been up against for a long time. And we just went through them. Good old fireflies. I like some firefly. In just a minute, we're going to go for a little break. Because I think we could do with a bit more caffeine. But it's also just good to go and reset your eyesight a little bit. And to stop listening to my voice. Because by God, you must be bored of that by now. I'm just going to get to the end of this one here. I've been streaming now for nearly an hour, and I'm on number 4, so I'll need to speed that up a bit, right? It's nice to do something different than carapace. Carapace is always the thing that takes forever, and I just end up doing it week on week, and it must be the most boring thing to watch. It's boring to paint. It looks nice when it's done, but that's why I thought we'd move on to wings today. Cool, there we go. Right, let's move away from here for a second. Here we go. So, yeah, you can see those wings are coming along nicely. It's nice to see the sort of outlining where it just kind of runs along the side of the limbs. So in some places where it hasn't really done a very good job of that, I could just drop a little bit more in there. Just a little bit of water to help break the surface tension down. That will help stop that awful like ring staining, coffee stain, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. There we go. Okay, cool. That's 4 done. I've got 3 to go. I can definitely do this before the end of the show. What I've done on my test one, I'll get out in a second to show you, is, like I said right at the beginning of the show, you can see that there's a little bit of red around like the edges of the wings and around the holes in there, just to make them look a little bit sort of tatty and shot up. And that was done with an airbrush by using Carabao Crimson, which is not that colour that I've got in my hands. It's a colour that's here somewhere. There it is. My workbench needs tidying. It's a really nice colour, but it's a pig to work with. As soon as you put it down, it creates a sort of a skin in a ring, and you always get that coffee staining. No matter what you put in it to try and break that surface tension down, you've got to keep it moving to stop it making those little ring marks, and it's awful, which is a shame because it's a beautiful colour. So a way that I found to combat that is by putting it through the airbrush, but it's very easy because it's such a watery product. It's very easy to just kind of like spray a splodge and you just end up getting like a spider web effect, so you end up ruining it. So it takes a long time to kind of get that, but that's how I achieved that in the end. So yeah, once I've done the wings with the sepia, is then getting the airbrush out, have a go at that. But the airbrush has only just been cleaned, and it might need a go in the sonic bath because I think there's some small bits of debris in there which will need some sort of heavy duty shifting. I've also got a lot of brown paint still in the hopper. I'm terrible for looking after my airbrush. Anyway, look, gonna go for a quick 10-minute break. In the meantime, whatever it is that you're doing, you should take a break too and go and change your paint water. I'll see you in a minute. Bye bye. Welcome back. I hope you had a good break. I just managed to somehow get like a really good transition with my audio. My music timed in really well, and now I've lost the ability to interact with anything else. There we go, cool, everything's come back. I am a real idiot when it comes to technology. Yeah, still just kind of cracking on with my gargoyle wings. That's quite a mouthful to say. I've still got a little bit to go. Sometimes I have these days where it feels like I've got such a simple task to do, and it shouldn't take me very long. It takes me forever, and I'm like, I'm never going to get these minis finished. And I'd love to know if anybody else feels the same. I don't want to rush them. I don't want it to, don't want it to affect the quality of them. But at the same time, I know that they're a horde creature in my army, so it doesn't. I shouldn't be taking forever and ever doing them and getting too precious about the quality that I'm painting. So I'm just trying to speed paint through this wing here, just to see how quickly I can do it. Can I do it accurately? Can I get a good sort of look on there as well? I can. Yeah, roughly. You'll see it in a minute. There we go. Alright, well, you could just sit there for a minute. I went and made another cup of tea, and I've also got myself a gold bar. Who likes gold bars? I love them. It's just condensed milk on a biscuit. What's there not to like? Anyway, cool. If you're new here to Easy 8, do please consider subscribing, because every little gesture on your part is a massive thing over here. Every subscription is really precious, and during the last sort of hour, we've gone up by a subscriber. So thank you very much for that. It really does mean the world to me, making this show and this community that little bit bigger every single time. Thank you so much for that. If you haven't already, maybe share the word. Go and tell some friends who might benefit from coming along to this show. Thumbs up while you're at it, because it'll get you more videos like this, right? I think that's how it works. I don't know how it works. Dave, just before we went away, said, I did take out that King Tiger in reference to the game that we played the other day. Yes, you did. In one shot, I believe. Was it one shot? You one-shotted it. That never happens. It's a big tank that you drive, mate. Ben says, yeah, I got 2 Broodlords to be attached to my Gene Stealers. Has worked out today that you can have more than one character as they change to Epic Hero now. Yes, yeah, you can have more than one. Just, is it necessary? It's a big Gene Stealer. Why wouldn't you want to? It's a silly question I'm asking, isn't it, anyway? Do you know what? I've got my Broodlord here somewhere. It's behind me. I never get out of the chair. I'm not going to get it. Yeah, you'll have to go onto Instagram. There it is, right there. You'll have to go onto Instagram to go and see it. And I've got some cool photographs on there. I've done a really good acid pool, and there's a little ripper swimming in it and stuff. I could do it better now if I tried again, but I like the fact that my army's got my progression going through it, because it's taken me years to get this far. Yeah, head on over. We're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Discord, where you can come and join me at the end of the show for a chat on the live video if you want to, or if you want just microphone or just typing away. That's not the piano, that's typing on a keyboard. And you can see some of the photos that I put up. You can share some of your photos too if you want to. So if you want to, Ben, you can go and have a look at Instagram. You can go and have a look at the Broodlord that I've done up there. I think I put pictures of them up. I must have done. If not, I will put some up. Go and have a look anyway, because you never know. Wow, I'm rambling. We should probably head back on over to the workbench, because we should. Oh, here we go. So, yeah, painted. It looks okay, right? It looks all right. You can see painted wing, not painted wing. If anything, it could do with a bit more shading up in the end up there. So, I'm just gonna push some more up inside. There we go. Look at that. Lovely. Nice. Just making sure that we got a little bit of lining, border lining, pin lining just on the inside there, like that. That looks nice. I like it. There's Dave agreeing. It was a satisfying game. It's just a good fun game that gets everyone together. Is what a tanker, made by 2 fat lardies. And if you go to the big conventions, the big shows, they are there. I tend to not get starstruck. Maybe one day, if I ever talk to a star, I might turn into a dribbling mess. I don't know. But I didn't go and seek them out or whatever. They were just being hounded by everybody all day. So I thought they could probably do without someone that they've not met before come up and saying the same stuff. But if there's a quiet show and I see them, I will go and say hello. And thank you for the wonderful game that they have made. It's really, really fun, and I highly recommend it. Now, my challenge that I was talking about earlier on, for those of you from 3D Gizmo, is that, as we discussed when we met in the North Devon Model Show, that you are at a distance that is not too far away from where I am. And I am more than willing to make the distance by throwing down the gauntlet to you and any of your crew who wish to be involved in a for funsies game of What a Tanker. I'm sure that there will be people in the Easy 8 community, which you are now a part of, but people who are regular viewers here who would also like to join in on that trip, go somewhere, meet in neutral territory, and play a game or two, and have some beers, because that's what grown-ups do, right? So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, let's make that happen. Why not? Let's bring the communities together. If it's just you guys, it's just you guys. If you bring more people, brilliant. And we can run a proper day of it if you like. I think that would be really, really fun. I have everything needed to run the game. And if lots of people end up turning up, then I am more than happy to coach and ref. So, yeah, there's something for you. How do you like them apples? It's a hoot, and it doesn't take very long to pick up. That went on rather quickly and neatly. That's good. I'm also getting to the bottom of this pool of sepia tone here. And I'm starting to get little bits of, well, dust, I think. Dust and the occasional cat hair, because what would the show be without a cat hair stuck in my painting? Every damn week. I don't even let them in the studio. Every time there's a cat hair on something. So I might need to just clean out that little, what do you call these? Receptacles? What are those little things? Anyway, David says, to be honest, I've never heard of it, but I'm always up for trying something new. Yeah, do you know what? It wasn't until someone else told me about the fun that they were having on the game. And you know when you're kind of like not really listening to someone's conversation, because it was a conversation between two other people. And I was like, ooh, that's a name that I can remember. I took note of it, and I got home and I was like, need to find this game. And I thought it was going to be one of those, don't know how to explain it, but sometimes someone, it's like a homebrew game that they seem to have printed somehow and made it look professional, but it's not actually like a published release. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was going to be something like that. No, this is a full-on book of 70 odd pages, lots of fun drawings and things in there, and it's hilarious. And they haven't just stopped with the World War II. They've got What a Cowboy. So you got What a Tanker and What a Cowboy. And apparently it plays very much in a similar way. I just spat. How disgusting on TV. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it plays very similarly. Like, you have command dice. It allows you to do certain things. I don't know. I think you ride in on a horse, and there's a saloon and stuff. So yeah, they've done lots of games, and with all of their games, they always try to go with the premise of displaying the chaos of warfare or combat or whatever. Like, you can have all the training in the world, but when you're being shot at, do you turn into a dribbling mess? I do. So yeah, do you know what? Let's find a time to hash out some details. And let's make that happen. I live over here in sunny North Devon, as you well know. It's not very sunny right now. It's raining. And where I live, there is a pub who will very affordably hire it out to me. And the best thing about that is that you've got a pub to go and play your games in. So you can get drunk and play, and what more do you want from life? I'm not an alcoholic. But that's, of course, if you want to make the travel down this way. But I'm sure where you are, or somewhere in between, there are similar venues, so we can make it happen. Right, I've got 2 more of these things to go, making good speed now. you know what I'm going to do? A little bite of my gold bar. Did I say pub? Pub! Oh, I love a pub. I love a gold bar. I haven't been drinking an awful lot lately, but I have been snacking a lot lately, and the waistline is not going away. Normally a very active person, but the last couple of years I have not been. And yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Right, just clean out that little pool in there. Yeah. Right, oh, that's too tasty. I love a gold bar. Sue me. Just gonna give it a shake. And just because we haven't done it yet, these don't really need. They don't really need what's coming up. I'm so sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. These little shades from Citadel don't really need a vigorous shaking, but I haven't done it on this week's episode. And I always like to, and I know that Stafford's not watching tonight, but he'll come back and watch the replay, and he'll put a comment on. You watch it, he'll put a comment on down there. You watch. 3, 2, 1. Waz-o-matic. You got to give your paints a waz. You've got to give them a stir. You've got to give them a shake. You've got to give them a waz. You can read into that however you want. There we go. There's Dave. Waz it. So, we got 2 Daves. Davids or Daves in the live chat. I'm going to have to make a clear distinction between the two of you. Oh, such a tasty biscuit. It's all gone now. There'll be no more of that business. Okay, so I've got the brand new Seraphim Sepia. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it compares. There are 2 things that could immediately be obvious. The first one is how easy is it to apply? Does it have the same sort of properties? Does it transfer from bristle to model in the same way, or easily, or bad, or whatever? And the other one is the colour or the hue the same? So just like I always do, I just put a little bit of water on the model. And it just helps it stop congealing immediately, or pooling or anything. And it's more inclined to run on the wet surfaces. So it's going to go in the areas where I put it, if that makes sense. It seems to be moving around a little bit differently. That's the real word. The colour, it looks a little... If I really focus on it, it looks a little more red tone, but only where it's really dense. So they've done a very good job of keeping the colour the same, which is great. And it's actually less prone to pooling, which is fabulous. They've done something new with their recipes, on their paints, on their shades, and it's really done wonders for them. Obviously, the most obvious one for me would be Nuln Oil, which, if you're doing just like a sludge wash, Nuln Oil is great. But if you're trying to do anything like what I'm doing now, just trying to get it into the right places, it's just never ever worked for me. I absolutely hated it. To the point where I was never ever going to buy it again, and then they changed the recipe. So I realised I may have not been in shot there for a long time. I apologise. I bought the new Nuln Oil, and I love it. It just behaves in a totally different way, but it looks the same. There's such a science to making paints. Go and Google it. It's crazy. It feels a little rougher on this side, but I didn't put any water down. I was just kind of rushing into it on this side, and it's a little bit, I don't know, it drags a little bit more. It's noticeable, but it's not bad. I don't think I'm going to bother wetting down any future surfaces. It seems to behave quite well. And actually, where I put this down, though there's some pooling, it looks really cool. I don't know, like it's got a different sort of tension, different sort of surface tension. And it's behaving ever so slightly differently. Cool. The more you know. Right, undersides. This one here, where I said in the past, I don't really care about the underside so much because his wings flare up so much. I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful. Just because on the underside here, a little bit more exposed, so you'll be able to see it better. This is the quiet bit of the show now where I've run out of things to say. I've never run out of things to say. I'm too ADHD for that. When we were playing Water Tanker last Wednesday evening, Stafford, who's normally in the live chat, isn't today, gave me giant Skittles. Never give me giant Skittles. Just don't give me Skittles. Just don't do it. It's dangerous. No one needs that in their life. It's like I had everything to say, but 3 seconds to say it. Yeah. Like I say, it's been a really stressful week at work. It's been a long, tough, emotional week, and I got through it. Yeah, of course I did. I didn't realise how much it was getting on top of me until sort of middle of the week, sort of Tuesday and Wednesday. I just found myself coming home early because I was doing early shifts, getting home about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon and just sleeping on the sofa for an hour or two, which is very, very unlike me. So of course the guys all came over and playing Water Tanker or getting ready to play Water Tanker. I've been snoozing, I haven't been preparing or anything, I've been snoozing on the sofa. So Stafford gave me some giant Skittles. Do you want some of these? Yeah, of course I do. And then yeah, that was it. I was awake, buzzing. I don't know. It's like some sort of crazy high. There's always a come down, and they taste lovely. So it seems to be that he's ever so slightly runnier, and it might be that I'm just kind of going on a little bit heavy. But it is running around a little chaotically, so I'm going to have to watch how I apply this and make sure that it doesn't pool and dry look awful. But I've already noticed, and it might be that the other one was just old, and that is definitely something that could have been playing into it. The other sepia could have been old. This one does seem to be much more forgiving as I'm kind of moving it around with the brush. It's not dragging straight away. I'm able to collect it up on the end of a slightly dry brush tip, and then I can just dab that on a tissue and it just soaks up stuff that I don't want there, that excess. A little bit of pooling here. Let's see how that reacts. If I put a little bit of water into it, move it around a little bit. Yeah, better than the other stuff, which is great. Still being gentle with it. I'm going to break the surface tension too much. Just want to move it around a little bit. It's fabulous. think that the age of the old paint certainly has played into it. It's something I've not really thought about before, but now I'm saying it out loud, it's really obvious. Looking good, says David. Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that. It's taken me an age to get there. Not as long as it takes anything else. But, yeah, it's looking good. And I'm really happy with these. I've got one more to do this technique on, or this part on. And then I can move on to other things, like highlights. This one looks darker than the rest of them because he's still got to have the, you know, the sort of mid-tone highlights put on him. But I can do that later on. Might do them after the show on Discord. Always nice to be working on something whilst chatting away with people in the community. Don't feel that you have to come to the Easy after party, but you can if you want to. I'm not going to be on there for a crazy amount of time today. Again, like last week, because it's just very busy at work at the moment. It's our peak season. I've got a very early start tomorrow morning. So, yeah. And we've got just a couple more weeks, well, one more week left of this peak season, where everything will tone down and change down a little bit coming out the other side this week. However, I am also on holiday from next week, so it is unlikely that I will be running an online painting club the next 2 Fridays. I know, shock horror, what is going on? It is because on next Friday I've got a little bit of work that's clashing with holiday prep time. That will be very unlikely that I'll be able to make it online. So I'm not making promises. If I do, obviously you'll get the alert. You'll get a little thing come up on Facebook saying that the show is coming on. Otherwise, just go ahead with the idea that I'm not going to be able to run a show next week. And beyond that, I'm also not going to be around the following week because I will still be on holiday. Yes, I've been planning on going away for a while. I haven't been abroad for some time. I'm going to Morocco. Yeah, I'm going over there for 10 days, which means, of course, that will be a second evening of not being able to run this show. I apologise sincerely for it, but I need a break, as I have learned over the last few days. I've shouldered a lot of responsibilities lately, and it's time to go and have some downtime. So I'm going to go to Tangier. I'm going to be going to Chefchaouen, which you should definitely Google an image of that because it is a crazy beautiful place. It's entirely painted blue. The floors, the walls, houses, outside, inside, everything is just blue. And it's crazy wonderful. There's lots of national parks and stuff, and I'm a big advocate of the outdoors. Those of you that know me will know that I'm not happy unless I'm outdoors. So yeah, Morocco. I'm not going to the desert though, because me and hot places, we don't get on. And a desert seems like a hot place, right? So I'm not going there. Might go to the Atlas Mountains for a little bit. Have a little hike around out there perhaps. See what happens. And then back up the Tangiers for a little bit. I was going to go to Marrakesh, but it's actually quite a long way away from where we're going. It's actually like it's another plane trip, and well, you know, it takes extra time and the costs start adding up, don't they, eventually. So I was like, well, let's just go to some of the other places, maybe some of the less tourist-trodden places. So yeah, that's where we're going. And my partner comes from Tangier, so we're going to see some places that she, you know, was when she was young. So yes, it's a nice opportunity to go and see this wonderful place that I've never been to before. But it does, of course, take me away from running another show. How dare he? I know. Keza said, so today I've completed 23 out of my 30 city boards. You haven't done 23 today, have you? You have just got to that grand number of 23. Am I right? Am I right? But the picture that you put up on Facebook, mate, that tarmac colour, it just looks really, really good. Well done. It looks really cool. And it's going to look really impressive when it's all put together. Ben also put up a picture of his setup for his new painting setup. Come back in, new to the hobby from a long break away from it. Lots of stuff to get stuck into. Take your time, sir. Take your time. You've got the advantage that every hobbyist would always want to go back to having, which is starting from ground zero. You don't have to rush into anything. You don't have to go and buy all the models. Take your time and do one at a time. There's no need to rush it. Make them look cool, which I know you will. Right, here we go. The last little bit of Seraphim Sepia. Talking of an expanding waistline by eating too many biscuits. Biscuits is all I can taste right now. My shirt is really not fitting me. It's the same shirt that I've worn since day one. 3 years of live streaming, almost 3 years now. And yeah, it's time to get a new shirt and probably go and exercise a little bit. Working in the outdoors, people always say to me, but aren't you really active? Like, no, I'm a manager, so I work in an office in the outdoors environment. So no, I'm not really that active. I get me 10,000 steps in virtually every day, but not as active as I once was. So next year, I used to run quite a lot, and I haven't run for a while. I don't know why that is. I just I go through phases. Again, probably something to do with ADHD. Who knows? Next year, I'm going to be doing a challenge that was set to me by a colleague, who I found very inspiring. Which is run 1,000 miles in a year. Now I haven't run properly for a good couple of years. I've done a couple of runs this year. I've done a couple of 2 miles, and I've done a 10 miler as well. 10 miler killed me, but if I'm going to run 1,000 miles in a year, I've got to do about 20 miles a week consistently. So that's going to be exhausting. So then I can drink all the beer and eat all the biscuits that I want, right? That's what I'm hoping I'll be able to be. Going to be shattered. Now my friend is Iron Man, not Iron Man Tony Stark, but has done the Iron Man contest. That he's much fitter than me, and he was struggling as well, trying to maintain it for such a long time. So I'm under no illusions that it's going to be easy. Like, I know it's going to be hard. Well, I used to go running 3 times a week. I'd do about 4 miles as my average. If I was just feeling like, oh, I'm just going to do a run, I'd go for a 4 miler. So if I did 3 runs of 7 miles a week, that would give me 21 miles, and it's about 1.5 miles in the bank every week. So as time goes on, I can take a little bit more rest. Sounds like a good plan, right? I could do a run every day of 3 miles, but I don't think I need the rests. I don't think I'll be able to achieve that. That'd be difficult, and we'll find it very difficult running a show, doing that as well. Got to make sure that I fit my life in there as well somewhere, Someone at work has decided to join me on the challenge. You can join me too if you want to. I don't expect you to. It's going to be difficult. But go big or go home. It's not my motto, but it sounds like something I should say a lot. Kez says, no, I finished 4 sections today, 23 in total. 4 sections is still a good shot, though, for just one day. Have you had the day off or something? Have you been working on them continually the whole afternoon? That's good effort, mate. Well done. And they are looking really good as well. Like, I'm not just saying that. They are really, really cool. It's going to look really good when you're playing an actual game of Alpha Strike on there. Good effort. David, they're saying, you'll be able to do it. I hope so. Like, I'm going to give it everything I've got. Do you know what? If I fail, which I don't really want to talk about failing before I've even got anywhere, but if I fail, at least I, gave it a go, right? At least I got to 900 miles or whatever it would be. But I'm hoping I'll be able to break the 1,000. It's been a long time since I've run, but if you don't do the big things, when will you? I remember when I first started running, never thinking that I'd be able to do a 10 miler, and I've got to go and do 4 or 5 miles before I'm actually into a run. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to it. Got to have these big dreams. One for big dreams. I wouldn't have got Easy 8 off the road. on the road. Yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, so started on the next 2 sections tonight. Oh no, started them last Friday's show and finished them today. Oh, okay, so you've been kind of like doing them throughout the week. That's cool. That's still good going though. 4 boards in a week. 23 done, so 7 more to go, right? Have you got any like special ones? Like, because I know you've got like high rises and like sub levels and stuff as well, haven't you? But have you got any like special, like cool looking boards? I think we're done. A little bit of pool in there. I think I can get rid of that, but do you know what? I'm not too fussed. It does behave differently without the water. I think the water will help it stop making those little lines and marks and stuff, which is what I originally started doing it for. So all in all, it's a little bit easier to control. It kind of fooled me into stopping using my normal technique, which I won't let happen again. But otherwise, it's quite cool. And we've all agreed that we like the paler look than the darker look. So pale look, obviously. Darker look, obviously. Yeah, which I can get behind. I appreciate that. I will find some time to repaint that guy's wings over there. Just want to get rid of this hard line here. It's bothering me a little bit. So all I've done there, in some sort of crazy attempt to break up that hard line, is just come in with a wet brush and just gently like pat it down. Those little lines are going to stay there. There's not a lot I can really do about that. As I do it more, I'll get better at it, I suppose. That's the attitude to have, right? Okay, cool. It says the ones left are the motorway sections and on and off ramps. Yeah, that's exciting stuff, that is. Looking forward to that. Right. Okay. Cool. Let's put the sepia away for a minute. One of the other things that I picked up when we went to the North Devon Model Show is I just picked up a new paint from a manufacturer I've never heard of before. SMS Infinite colour. An Australian brand, and there was a supplier that was there. I forget the name of the gentleman who I was talking to, Carl, I think. Please don't quote me on that. And I'm always interested in different brands of, you know, whatever's paints, etc. And I was looking for an alternative to my red oxide, so I've got here somewhere on the table the Vallejo Model Air in this is Hull Red, which, as you can see, is a very, very dark brownish red. And I thought it would be the colour for painting undercoat on period tanks. I don't think it is. Unfortunately, Amazon made an error. And I've got 2 of them. And I don't think I'm ever really going to use them. I'm sure I will eventually. But I wanted quite a bright red to sit underneath like painted tanks. And I was having a look at this supplier and give this one a bit of a shake. Do you know what? Twice in one day. Let's give it a whiz. If I give it a bit of a shake, the colour should mix a little bit. They seem to have like enamel paints, lacquer paints, and acrylic paints in various sizes. I like my acrylics. I do have some enamels for different things. But this one had better colours. That looks more like the sort of colour I want for the undercoat of a tank. Very, very minute little dropper head on there. So, yeah, that looks like a nice colour. I also thought if I'm not going to really paint an awful lot with it, like I'm not going to paint an awful lot of like undercoat tanks. There's only a couple that I'm going to do that way, or maybe the occasional panel on it, or a wheel replacement or something. Is it might be a nice colour to do my Martian bases with for my Adeptus Mechanicus for these guys. Oh no, drop something there. So lots of battle damage and stuff on this guy, as we've seen in the past. But I've never really been happy with like the colouring on the floor, on the ground. And one of my to-do projects for this year is to kind of finish or kind of inspire myself to get a nice colour on the ground that isn't Martian red, but kind of stands out a bit more orangey, but doesn't blend away with the orange on him. So this might be the colour to go for. Who knows? So yeah, some ideas to think about. Yeah, cool. Let's move you away. Oh, getting a bit of a headache. Tea will sort it out. Back to this guy. So you can see that his wings are now dry, even underneath. Looking good. Now what I would do at this point is go and do a second coat on them. But we've established today, the community says don't do it, so I shan't. One of the things that I do they do that though, don't they, is where I've been going over these little holes, is it's filled them in, and it's kind of congealed, so I get like a little needle and just kind of push it through from one side and then flip them over and then just go through the other side, and it just pushes. The paint is now dry, kind of clumps up a little bit, so it's often worth giving it a little bit of a wiggle. And then that last little one there we go. Checking him on the other side, making sure there's no little paint bits sticking out. And now I can see light through him underneath. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it's working. And because the paint has kind of run into there, it's left a dark stain in there, so they really show up, which is really cool, right? That was just pure accident, certainly wasn't planned for. So now that I finished the wings on there, I'm gonna do the crimson thing a bit later on. We've only got about 15-20 minutes left of the show, and it takes such a long time to kind of get them done. I'm just gonna do them in my spare time over this week and hopefully get them done. What I'm going to do now is just make a start on the highlights, which I thought would be a nice thing to do here. So let's pop him in the cork. Let's get some highlight grey. The highlight grey that I use is Administratum Grey by Citadel. It's a really nice grey. Their greys are really good. Greys are a really nice colour to work with, actually, and the Citadel ones are really good. But as you can see, there's a thick grey line right in the middle, which means, Dave, you know what's going to happen, don't you? There's a delay, and you need to type. I'm moving in if you don't get there in time. He's not going to do it, is he? Oh, you missed your opportunity. Was it? It's going to come up in a second. Was it? Yeah, you were too late. You were too late. I give you perfect opportunity. Just got him upside down, just out the side of the shot there. The cable for my little vortex mixer is so short that it just reaches in arm's length reach for me. So unfortunately, I can't have it anywhere else. Okay, there we go. Mix that up a bit, give it a bit of a shake. I have been thinking about getting some little ball bearings and dropping them in my paints, just to help with the mixing process. There we go. It's a really nice sort of like single cream texture. It's a really nice colour, this one. Anyway, enough about cream. Let's get a little bit of paint in the palette there. I've noticed that I've got Seraphim Sepia very near to that, so that might have been a waste of paint. Wash the brush out. Always wash your brush out. And add just a tiny bit of water into there. Always adding water to your paints. Even if it's airbrush paints, just thin them down. Do it. Do it. Excellent. Right, now this brush is far too big for this job that's coming up, so let's get rid of that one. In fact, it's even too big for my zero. It's a really nice brush, this one. But yeah, this job is too big. It's too small for that. I'm going to keep it to the side though, just in case, because I do like using those. Those are Kolinsky brushes. They're expensive. They are very good quality. But sometimes you've got to pull out the tiny ones, haven't you? Now this is a little synthetic brush. It's one of those really, really dog toffee cheap brushes, but it performs. I don't know why this brush does it, but it just works for me. So I would like to get a brush of its equal size in a Kolinsky Sable. But for now, don't change what you got if it's working, right? Don't fix it if it ain't broke. The only problem with a small brush, of course, is it just can't hold much in the belly, so you have to keep going back to the palette a lot. So, just while we've got a little bit of time here on the show, and we are, say, running quite close to the end of the evening, is I've just thought that I would give a little bit of a go on the highlights of these of his plates on his back. If I zoom in just a little bit closer, get a better look. There we go. So, I've got this top panel here. I spat again. Got a dark patch. Got like a light patch here, but the light patch is actually a mid-tone patch. And I'm just going to pick out the extreme edges along the outer edge of this plate. Now I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'm not going to like put it all the way in. Just trying to pick out the edges. But I'm using the shape of the brush in a specific direction so that I get sort of directional lines, if you like. And by kind of dabbing and wiping backwards, I leave like streaks that look like they get narrower when they go closer in towards the dark grey, and that lends to the impression of splits and cracks and things. Do with a slightly wetter brush there. Now it sometimes takes a minute to find the right consistency of this paint, of this colour, to make it work for you, because otherwise it just goes too transparent, it doesn't really show up. But after a while you can just start doing like a few extra longer lines, especially if you've got chips or cracks that are sculpted into the model, and there are a few here, is to actually just follow those out. So from here there's a couple of little chips here. So I like to do like a little line coming out a bit further, and it just kind of makes it look like that they got cracks or splits or whatever. Again, I've got quite thick paint there. A wetter brush. That's too wet. Stupid. There we go. If I hold him just a little bit further away, if I zoom out a little bit, there we go. You can see that it adds a lot more sort of dynamic depth to the armour plates. And if I hold that one there and get the one I haven't done the highlights on at all, you can make a comparison now. See the difference that it makes? Brings so much to it for such a simple effect. It just takes a little bit of time. Getting a decent amount of paint in a palette ready on the side, consistency that is good, that works for you, is key, because it just means that you can keep on going for longer without having to keep on correcting the consistency. And that's one of the areas that I really struggle in, because if I had a good consistency of paint all the time, I'd just be able to smash a load of it out in one go. But sometimes you have to stop and come back and work on the consistency a bit more. Got the consistency dialed in here. that's working for me. Okay, let's move down a little bit. Down to the next plate here. Well, I've just gone over a little bit on that one there. What a wally. I'll have to correct that in a minute. It looks like I've got the shakes as I'm painting, but actually it's my hands wobbling when I'm kind of moving the brush, and that is making it very difficult for me to paint. Take a bit of paint there, that's not good. Got a little bit of trouble with the end of the bristles on here, and it is a cheap brush, but I think there's something just stuck to them, and maybe a bit of dry paint, and it was not allowing the brush to behave as it normally does. So just kind of giving it a bit of a scrape with my fingernails there, just to help kind of clean anything out of them. Hopefully that has helped save the brush there a little bit. But there is every possibility that this brush is just going to die at some point. It's been working for me so well for so long, and it is honestly such a cheap naff brush. I like to do a little spur, just sticking up along the centre line there. Got extra little long lines. Not going crazy. This consistency is working for me. See how I can just carry on. That's good. It's like another cat hair. I swear my cats come in here during the night. It's all locked up. They can't get in here, right? What? Have they got thumbs? There, got these little nodules down his back here, which I said I would just give a tiny little touch of highlight to, and makes them stand out a bit. Now we've got a level of depth to all of that. Again, if I compare him to this guy, now we can see the difference, and it really pays. Even if you compare it to his own head, you can see the difference. Let's just do a little bit on his head now as the last little bit for the show. So the way that I paint these highlights, I like it to go brighter to the edge of something or to a point, and it makes it look like it's pointier or sharper, like a little optic illusion. Now I think that a way that is probably good for me to paint this horn or this spur or spike or whatever is to try and do both sides at the same sort of time, so that I know how far to bring the highlight down or in. Because sometimes it's quite nice to work on just like one side at a time. Need a bit more water in my brush there. If you're ever struggling to get paint from your bristles onto the object that you're painting, it's because it's not wet enough. Now, not wet with paint, wet with water. So you need to thin the paint down, and the bristles of your brush need to be wet, or damp probably is a better way of saying it. It just helps the paint flow. The paint hasn't got a medium to travel through, it's going to really struggle. Said it wasn't a tutorial show, but here I am teaching how to do stuff you probably already know. And that's why it isn't supposed to be a tutorial show. But maybe I'm saying sensible things, I don't know. Almost at a point where I can call this head done. He's still got some plates on his gun to do, but I can do those in a minute. I'm going to carry on with this guy over on Discord in just a few minutes. Their head's got such small plates, it's such a hard thing to try and highlight, especially the further back you go, it gets so close to the back of his neck down here. Not entirely happy with the way that horn looks, but I'll get better, right? I'll get better. But you can't deny that the shading with those three types of greys is really paying off. I think that I probably could go further in with the dark grey, meaning that I could do the mid-tone further in and then the grey be kind of just like the deepest sort of shadows. But I really like the way that stands out. It's really cool. Need to work on the horn a little bit. That's what I'll do over at Discord. Anyway, let's pop this bad boy down. Give this brush a wash out. I'm going to give it a proper brush, clean, proper brush clean with Greased Off Well brush cleaner. A little drop on the table there. And just gentle circles, being sure to not push, you know, forwards the bristles, just allowing the stuff to kind of get up inside the ferrule. Bit of water now, just clean that out. Bit more water, clean that out, mop that up, get some clean water, bit of squeezy bottle, because the stuff that was in my jar over there was dirty. Dry it back to a fine point, and it's, for some reason, it's just a really cheap, nasty synthetic brush that's really been keeping up with the big boys. I don't know why. It's got a slight curve on it. When I apply pressure to it, the bristles do splay a little bit, and they don't have neat ends, so they're all different lengths. But I use that to my advantage when painting rough edges, so I can get like a natural looking spike sort of thing in there. So yeah, this little brush has been doing brilliantly for me, and of course if I want to sort of keep the end in a fine point for a period of time, I've got repair gel, which is the stuff that when they've been manufactured they come with that set in them, and it's like a hair gel but for bristles of your brush. It's a really good stuff to work with. So when I'm on holiday, all my brushes will get a little dose of that. Yeah, so there he is, look. Yeah, good, flappy. Compare him to the darker one. They're going to look really cool when they're all done, and I do agree with everybody that the lighter shade is better than the dark one. You guys are correct, as you always are. Anyway, going to move away from here now. We're at the end of the show. Cheers. Tea has definitely got me through this evening. I've also, as you may notice, at this angle or on this screen, I've shaved my head, which I normally do. But I had a stressful week, and I came home and I had a I was stress shaving my head. So yeah, I'm bolder than I normally look. So yeah, if you notice that I've got really bad hair today, it's because sometimes I'm very impulsive and I can't be trusted. So yeah, sorry for looking a bit on the rough side today. What can you do? Look, this evening's been absolutely fantastic. Got through a load of stuff that I thought would take me half the time, but sometimes these things, you got to persevere through them and get the work done. It's important to take your time, especially Ben, if you're starting out fresh over there. Take your time, work your way through all the different tasks and whatever, and it will pay. Use the time to kind of see if you can improve as a painter, get some techniques down, get something that's in your head down onto the canvas that is your grey plastic. Got hiccups from drinking tea, and that's really what I'm trying to do with these Tyranids is still keep it light and fun. I'm not trying to do a masterpiece, but all the while still trying to like improve my technique and get better as I go. Once I've got all the highlights done on them, I'll take a little snap and I'll put them up on Facebook so you guys can see my progress, and then when they're all done, I'll put them up on Instagram. I like to put like fun and exciting projects or finished projects up on Instagram, which is why it's not as active as the other platforms that we're on. But if you guys want to see more things on Instagram, I'll just start spamming Instagram with all the photos that I take. So you just let me know what you guys want, and I'll use the platforms either way. We're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and we're on Discord. And links to all of those platforms are just down there. After this show, in just a few minutes, I'm going to be over on Discord for a short period of time this evening. So if you want to come over, say hello, ask questions, talk about your projects or mine, then that's where I'll be. But like I say, this evening, just because I've got a really early start tomorrow morning, I'll be at work at 6, I won't be on for very long. Anyway, an astounding evening considering the fact I expected there to be almost no one on today, and we've got 4 new viewers and we've got some subscribers, and I thank you from the bottom of my bottom place. which is in my heart, I assure you. Thank you very much. It really means the world to me. So if you like what we do here at Easy 8, please do subscribe. Every single one of you who subscribes is absolutely, utterly precious to me and the longevity of this show. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button now. You can set the little bell icon to remind you if I'm going to do like a surprise show, which I do sometimes. Please do hit the subscribe button. One of the things that I nearly forgot to talk about is one of the secret projects I've got. It's not secret. One of the projects that I've got going on the side are my terrain boards. You'll remember a few weeks ago, maybe even last week, where I did this is one of the Animalia Games terrain boards, which is I've been using a vivarium substrate to create like an earthy looking soil. Over the top I will use a static grass. Really happy with the way that's turned out, but I've been trying to improve on that design to make the ground look less mechanical, I suppose. So I've been using, let me just get this one out over here. Here's a corner hill section. I've been using some modelling compound. So while it looks like just a load of plaster on the flattish board, this is a hill section, you can see that it just creates a slightly more interesting and uneven surface, and I've been using it to kind of blend away the more rigid sort of edges to make it look a little bit more softer. I've got about 16 of these bad boys that I've been working on, and one of the more exciting aspects of the project is creating rivers. So here you can see that there's a river. It's got a dip in the middle, and the actual edge of the river banks are on this side over here, but I've been making river banks that go in to make the river narrower, because I'm doing a different scale, and what I want to do is use 15mm bridges made by debris of war, and here is one of them. I picked these guys up at Salute from Anthony, or Tony, I believe he likes to be called, and I'm going to try eventually to have him set into the banks of the river and have him magnetised so that you can take the bridge away for easy storage and travelling around and whatever. However, when I did these, I made the riverbanks too wet, so they are still slightly damp. They're going to take days probably to set properly. Everything else on them is absolutely fine, but those riverbanks are really quite gooey. So this is one of the other little projects that I've had going on the side, which is why I didn't have my Tyranids up to scratch this week. So yeah, one of the things that I might do at some point when I've kind of perfected this recipe, which I'm not very far away from doing, is I will do an unscheduled live stream. Could be any time during the day where I'll just be making some stuff and just kind of playing around with it, showing you guys how I do it, the new techniques that I've learned, and I'm fairly certain the method that I'm doing is new. I don't think there's anyone that kind of teaches how to do it. Not that I'm teach worthy, but I'm going to be showing you how I do this so that you guys, if you want to, can make them as well. And I'm hoping to have a whole terrain board by December, because I've been invited to attend with my own table at the Recon show in Pudsey, which is just between Bradford and Leeds. I've still yet to hash out the details with it, but we've got a while before we're there. That is December, so it's a time away. So we can work out what it is exactly that we're going to be doing there, because there's going to be traders and painting competitions going on. I'm a live streamer. I'm a YouTuber. What place do I have? But there's no reason why I can't create, an episode of the online painting club live from an actual gig. Is going to be a great idea. But there's a lot of details to work out between now and then. Anyway, that's something that we've got a long time to talk about that. Time will move fast, but we still got some time. So yeah, some projects on the side. Expect them to go at some point. Will you do an island in the river for the middle of the bridge support? Yes, I will. I'll do like a little muddy embankment or something, perhaps. Not for that particular piece of bridge. For another river, I will do another piece. I've got 4 river sections to play with. So yeah, I've got 16 square feet. Yeah, not as much as you've got, because you've got 32. So yeah, have fun with that. Anyway, that's it from me this week. Please do like, share, subscribe, and all the fun stuff. For some reason, the live chat is coming up in the corner again. Don't know why it's doing that. You guys have been fantastic. My name has been Danny. Thank you very much. Love you all. And I will see you in about 3 weeks. Not next week, not the week after, but the week after that. I will stay active on Facebook, and I would love to see photos of all your stuff. So please do put some pictures up of everything that you're working on. In the meantime, you guys stay safe, be kind, keep on painting, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now. Take care. Now I just need myself another gold bar, and I'm sound for the evening. Biscuits, biscuits, biscuits.